Peace and blessings, family. What's up? It's all the day. Jimmy's out there. Please live it. Don't sleep through this thing. So I wanna say this. If you have not watched Uncle Tom Part 2 and Part 1, but Part 2 for sure, you need to take a day and just sit down and watch it. It's a documentary, and let me go ahead and say it like this. It is a documentary intended to challenge the normal perspective that Black America has on themselves and on America. Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's its intention, is to present information that challenges the normal view that not only Blacks, but just all Americans in general have, but specifically on Black America, hence the name Uncle Tom, right? And it's when I watched Part 1, it was an introduction, of course, to the Black conservative mind frame within the Black community, right? And let's keep it 100. The Black conservative mind frame within the Black community is not the most welcomed perspective within the Black community. Let's just keep that 100. Let's stop playing with it, right? I'll put it like this, and I'll say it. A dope dealer's viewpoint on slanging dope and why he or she does it, and the justification that they give for it is far more welcome with open arms and hugs than a Black conservative's viewpoint on politics, on social structure, on anything within the Black experience. The dope dealer's perspective and justification for why they do what they do is far more welcome than the Black conservatives' perspective. I'm just being 100. That's the best way I can explain it. And what's interesting is we typically love to say that Black people are not a monolith, but that's until you have a different political social viewpoint. When you begin to have a different political social viewpoint, that monolith shows itself, because once you step outside of that monolithic viewpoint of Black America, you are then called every single name that could be thrown at you, and you are dismissed from being invited to the cookout, right? Okay, whatever. Uncle Tom Part 1 gives Black conservatives that opportunity to speak for themselves without being drowned out by all the other static that's in the room, all the other noise in the room. It gives them the opportunity to voice why they are conservatives, right? It gives them that opportunity. And I encourage you guys to watch Uncle Tom 1 to hear those perspectives. It doesn't mean that you're going to agree with everything, but you can't expect somebody, let me put it like this. You can't say, let's have the dialogue, and it's a one-sided dialogue. But that even goes for those who are Black who happen to be conservative. You also can't say, let's have the dialogue, but you want it to be a one-sided dialogue. I get information from various people on various topics from various sides of the fence saying, hey, look into this. You might want to look this up. I think you're wrong there, Sleep. You might want to look into this. And I take the time out to look into those things. Why? Because they're giving me information that might help clarify what I might not know. It might correct what I thought I knew, but I don't know. But not only that, it might even solidify my position even more. But to ignore it, like, you can't say, let's have the conversation, and you shut down one side of the fence simply because their conversation or their words or their political or social view doesn't match yours, right? You cannot, you can, let me stop saying you can't. You can, but you come off extremely hypocritical to the positions that you think that you're showing forward when you do that. That's for both sides. But part two, let's talk about Part 2. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I'd rather you guys go watch it. I don't want to taint or keep you from viewing it or anything like that. I want you to go watch this with a mind frame. If this is the first time you're hearing it from me, I want you to dive in it and go watch it without me tainting the experience for you. Again, it doesn't mean you're going to agree with everything, but you might walk away learning some things you didn't know. You might walk away with some things that you might say, I already knew all that. Fine, right? But you might walk away with some information that you honestly did not know about. But Part 2, so Part 1 is an introduction to a mind frame within the Black community that is outside of the norm, outside of the box. Part 2 dives deeper into the shaping and molding and manipulation of Black America. Let me say that's the best way I can explain it without giving out too much. I don't want to give out all the details. I don't want to be intricately detailed with what I'm speaking. But part 2 talks about how the shaping and molding and manipulation of Black America happens, and how we are, even to this day, being reshaped, remolded constantly and manipulated for a purpose far beyond what we're actually really thinking about, right? And they present some information that'll really have you like, oh wow, I never knew that. Oh, wow, never thought about that. Again, if we're going to say we need to have the conversation, you can't shut out a side of the fence or a side of the line or a voice within the Black community simply because that voice within the Black community doesn't say what you want them to say. Again, both sides. That's both sides. But I want to encourage you to watch this documentary. If you, let me say it like this, if you've already heard of this and you've ignored it simply because you know who produced it, you know who the interviewers are or the interviewees are, I want to encourage you to set aside your prejudice and watch it. I want to encourage you to set aside your prejudice and watch it. Set aside your bias. Set aside your arrogance. Set aside your fear of probably being wrong and watch it. If you've heard of it, and you know the people that are involved and invested in this documentary, and you have silenced it from your ears, I want to encourage you to watch it. If you've never heard of it and you're intrigued, watch it. If you've never heard of it and you don't really care, watch it. But definitely take the time out to view this documentary. It's treated as if you're just getting information, and you can take it how you want. You can take it how you feel. Hey, take it, spit it out. You can take it, digest it however you want, man. But take it as information that you can go further into to look into, right? You know what I'm saying? Don't dismiss it simply because you think that they are absolutely wrong. And here's the thing. Let me say it on this side. Don't watch it and praise it wholeheartedly as if it's 100% factually actually true and you haven't really dived any further into what was presented. Because some of the things that were presented made me say, I need to look into that, man. I'm not sure about that. And then there's some things that was like, okay, that makes sense, but I still need to kind of look a little bit more into that. So I want to encourage those who produced this, who put this together, the researchers for it. I want to encourage y'all, man, go ahead and do part 3. Let's keep going out there in the water, man. Part 1 was standing at the shore, looking at the ocean of things. Part 2, we out there, man. The water is right here. Let's go ahead and deep dive, man. We're gonna need a boat for part 3, I really believe, because we need a part 3 that pushes us even further out there into this different perspective, the information that we don't always know, right? You know what I'm saying? And the person who thinks that they know it all, you don't know it all. So it's all right to bag back. Even I had to admit that there are certain things that I was speaking on at one point in time. I had to really think and say, you know what? I'm not actually well educated enough to have an opinion on that. I could very well be wrong. Let me back up off of that until I actually know more about it. So I found myself in that position in the last few years, man. You know what I'm saying? So you put your foot in your mouth sometimes when you speak too soon, but you also put your foot in your mouth when you don't accept an opportunity to learn more simply because you don't agree with who is doing the teaching. Again, you can't say you want to have a dialogue and you close the mouth of the person that you want to dialogue with. It's not a dialogue. That's a dictatorship. Much love and respect, man. Y'all be safe out there, man. I encourage you to go watch this documentary. This your boy Sleep. Be safe out there. Peace.